Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Back again on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. This is Code 47, coming to talk to you about Star Trek, episode number 104. I am Charlie Carden, your Trek Lord of West Michigan, captain or commanding officer with the rank of Commodore of the USS Grand Petoskey here in West Michigan. I am joined by my esteemed Trekkers and colleagues. We've got a pair of folks that have not been with us for a couple of episodes. So we're glad to have them back. I'll start out with my stalwart sideman, Peter Stein. Peter, how are you?
Hey, everybody. Doing all right.
And Jen Watson, the superstar of Sequest DSV and and the good bad of Star Trek. No, Jen filled in with me when we were between the end of Picard and the beginning of Strange New Worlds, which is what we're talking about right now. And she's awesome. And she's done some episodes of The Facts of Geek Life with me over on the Patreon, which segues me into talking about the Patreon. Visiting patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, you will find access to all of our Patreon content and a special free 1-week trial when you pick any one of our tiers. We do a lot of great fun stuff over there. I mentioned The Facts of Geek Life, where myself and a guest do choose a season of an older genre show, and we pick apart 4 or 5 episodes. We have a rocking good time. Peter, I've still got to pin you down for one. Maybe we'll do Battlestar Galactica or something. My partners Mark and Todd have shows as well. So we're having a great time, and I always like to give love to our top tier Patreons who do make it possible on our BFF levels. That would be the awesome Nias family, Sean, Stella, and Henry, our frequent collaborator, and my close personal friend Missy Merchant, and her friend Andy Milliken and Jamie Prinky. We are very grateful for you guys. So anyway, the commercialism is now out of the way. So let's talk about some Star Trek. No exciting news this week, guys, unless I'm missing something. Are any Star Trek stories in the wind I'm forgetting about?
Not that I know of.
We're dry. The one itty bitty tiny tidbit is there will be a Star Trek panel at San Diego Comic-Con in a couple of weeks. We talked over on SFU Prime about how massive amounts of other companies have pulled out because with the writer strike and the looming actor strike, there's not going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. But Star Trek is going to have their own panel presence there in Hall H, where they're going to talk about Strange New Worlds, Discovery, and Lower Decks, which means it's coming back. But we still haven't had an announcement, which is very frustrating because that show usually drops in August and it happens to be July. So I would love it if they'd be talking about it.
Yeah, I won't be surprised about Lower Decks. It's done so well. We know we're getting more seasons of it. The only question is when.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you seasons 1 through 3 have all dropped in August. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one. So
I mean, doing a stealth drop and just surprise would be very on brand for me.
Yeah, it's very true. That is very, very on brand. I was excited. I ordered from the website Titmouse today my Starbase 80 t-shirt that I'm going to wear at Vegas. I got them for April and myself. So I'm looking forward to that.
Carry your Rolodex.
Yes, nobody even jokes about that. Oh, my goodness. So, no, looking forward to that. Yeah, myself and Kay and Missy are the two co-hosts who are not here. We'll be at Star Trek Las Vegas coming up in just a few weeks, which means we'll have an episode again in July, but the first part of August we will not have an episode. So, but when we come back, we'll resume talking about Strange New Worlds, and we'll probably have a special to talk about Star Trek Las Vegas as well and our experiences there. So, okay, without further ado, let's jump in to talking about the next 2 episodes of Strange New Worlds Season 2. Peter, would you like to kick us off talking about Episode 3?
Episode 3, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Another Shakespeare reference.
Yes.
Lon travels back in time to 21st century Earth to prevent an attack which will alter humanity's future history and brings her face to face with her own contentious legacy.
Ooh. Oh, my goodness. I'm really digging on this episode, but I want to hear what you guys have to say first. Jen, you're up.
I really liked it. Big surprise, but like the city on the edge of forever vibe that it had. I mean, not just because you have Kirk in it, but like that whole, there's a tragedy here. You have to kind of give something up, and you have to come to terms with, as the synopsis said, her destiny and how that's tied in with the destiny of the history of the future and Khan. And yeah, it was cool. And she and Kirk had great chemistry. I thought it was really natural.
Nailed it.
I love how we get like her perspective, like the woman's perspective of Kirk's charm, even though it's a different timeline. Kirk, it's still, we can see how you could fall in love with him very, very easily.
Right. God, I just Paul Wesley as Kirk, and what's interesting is that this is the second iteration that we've seen him in the character. We also got him in The Quality of Mercy, the finale of the season 1. And I will let you guys know, because I've seen through episode 6, that he does come back again. But I'm not going to tell you much more than that.
No, I don't want to know anything else.
Yes, but he, I have loved his portrayal. I don't dislike Chris Pine as an actor, although I'm not fond of those films. Shatner is a kind of a creature unto himself. There's no doubt about it. But I would almost say, a hot take, unpopular take, that I would put Paul Wesley as my favorite Kirk. I know that's crazy.
I really like him.
I know that's crazy, but I just Peter's like, but we'll shift on over to you, buddy. But anyway, I'm going to put my plug in for Kirk. But Peter, go ahead.
I was just letting you finish. I was just.
Oh, did you? Okay. I know. Just, I mean, I am not one to step on the passion when somebody else comes up. So you seem to feel very passionate. I know you're a TOS guy. Mm-hmm. Jen and I are kind of meh when it comes to TOS. We've talked about that. So, I mean, what are you thinking about the episode in general, and then about seeing this, alt Kirk? We get an alt Spock as well, and yes. Actually, we get an alt Ortegas, though she doesn't speak, because you see her sitting there on the bridge. But yeah, what did you think of Wesley as Kirk, and what did you think about the episode?
Overall, I really liked this episode. I know some people are like, "Oh, it's just a time travel episode." I love time travel episodes. I don't
totally.
I'm gonna fight anyone who says otherwise.
Yeah.
But I really liked this one. For me, the first 10 minutes were really rough.
Yeah.
I did not like how Kirk behaved in the first 10 minutes. Basically, once he started playing chess, then he got to the point that he was the Kirk I recognized.
Yeah. He Kirked it in.
Yeah. Once he got to that point, he was James T. Kirk. Before that, he was kind of I don't know exactly the best way to describe it, but he was under pressure because here's the thing. It wasn't like the minute he was like in the past, because I understand you're fish out of water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
sure.
Even how he was on the ship, it didn't really gel for me.
You don't think that's how Shatner Kirk or Chris Pine Kirk would behave confronted by that kind of situation? No. Like, who is this?
There was a little bit too much rigidity, I guess, and then which made the freak out more.
Yeah.
Well, it's a different timeline entirely.
Right.
I get that. I am comparing.
Yeah.
I know. I'm saying I'm comparing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I realize this is a different Kirk.
Right. And very different. I mean, he goes on to describe that Earth is a wasteland. He was born in space. He's lived in space. So he's not any of the things that shaped, Bill Shatner's Kirk, or even Chris Pine's Kirk, who was also born in space, ironically, but lived on Earth and followed a different timeline. There seems to be even less in common with this third version, but I dig it, even though the third version bleeds back to the first version, but not in this version. So this is the fourth version of Kirk, fourth version of Kirk, second act, third actor.
Yeah,
there you go.
But after he started playing chess, he was fine for me, and I
that's
really
when
quite
loosened up too.
Yes, it's when they, like, for instance, you have the what's our first point of business thing from Wrath of Khan? Food.
Yeah.
Get the giant hot dog.
What? Yes. What does it mean? What does it mean? Exact change. Oh, sorry, that was.
I love the joke where it was like New York City. No, it's Toronto, because everything gets filmed in Canada.
Right.
Everyone says it's the United States. I thought that was hilarious.
They drilled down on that in Yeah, they drilled down that in the Ready Room with Will Wheaton, the after show. They said, hey, it's fun to do because obviously the show films in Toronto, but nobody ever really talks about Toronto, even in every CW show which is filmed in Vancouver, so opposite coast. They never really. Well, this is Smallville or this is Gotham City or blah 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 blah.
No, it's Canada. It's not.
Yeah, it's just Canada.
Just touching briefly on Kirk's charm, though, I really appreciated how Wesley is not playing him as Zap Brannigan.
Yes.
Like this Kirk, like he knows his boundaries. He's charming, but he's not pushy.
Right.
He's not a horn dog.
Right.
And
he's
I really appreciate that.
He's not doing a lot of shoulder grabs when he's talking to somebody like you.
Yes.
The way he interacts with women. And it's just when they have that genuine, forehead touch, the smooch, it's just
He's
so
respectful.
Right,
and
but
it's
also
and it's just very tender.
Instance,
it's very tender.
The scene in the hotel, they didn't have him make a move, and I really liked that because it's like, Kirk is not the popular culture version of Kirk.
No,
right.
That's so I liked that take on how they did it. The one gripe I have about this episode, although one thing I do have to say, I really did like how they brought in the temporal Cold War to explain why Khan is later.
That really that worked incredibly well, and I loved because we were watching it again yesterday, and April was watching with me. I said, "What's interesting is that this Kirk is very familiar with the Romulans because they've been at war with them for an unspecified period of time. So are the Vulcans. The Vulcans are about to get rubbed out. That's what we get from Old Spock that we see. But Lon has never seen a Romulan. It's 2259. Our people don't meet the Romulans until 2266. So we're a ways off from even knowing. Even though if she was paying attention, she said
saw the warbird.
She said,
and
she said,
about the ears.
Yeah. She said something about the ears, but that could mean anything. It doesn't.
Anything.
So, but I just that's like the one thing that I was a little nitpicky on is like, there's so many different people who have done time travel in Star Trek history. Why do we keep having to return to the Romulans?
Right.
I love the Romulans, but maybe give them a break.
Well, yeah, it's like giving the Borg a break. I hope we never see him again. You know what I mean? But Picard was so Romulan heavy all the way through, and then this.
And the Kelvinverse movie started with the Romulans.
Right.
I love the Romulans. But
and they're still just finding ways to plug them in where they kind of don't belong because they're not supposed to be at this point in the history. So anyway, and again, I've seen the first 6 episodes. I'm expecting to get the second screener kind of any day now, which will kick off with the Lower Decks episode, which is supposed to be the 7th episode, which I'm really fired up about. This one has been my favorite so far. I really enjoyed watching this one again. But there's still so much more to come. I'm very excited. So, final thoughts before we move on, Jen?
I really liked seeing so much of La'an and her character development and how this pulls her out of her job and shows us her as a human being who is removed from that very professional, very straight-laced, very uptight, and we can see her, maybe some of her walls start to break down. She's recognizing that the name, it's just a name. It doesn't have to carry, she's not carrying the weight of it anymore after this.
Right.
So it's really interesting to see where this goes, and is she going to be able to open up a little bit more and make some more friendships, and just, I'd like to see where she goes. So I'm excited for that.
It was good tip. You shush. No more Kirk talk. All right. Well, moving on, Jen, this one is yours. Episode 4. Go for it.
So we have season 2, episode 4, Among the Lotus Eaters, mythology reference. Returning to a planet that dredges up tragic memories, Captain Pike and his landing party find themselves forgetting everything, including their own identities, as he confronts a ghost from his past.
What do you think?
This might be the first episode that I don't want to rewatch, but that is mostly because of the sound design.
Oh, that is what people are saying. People over on our Grand Petoskey Discord have been talking about, man, that just that high pitched whining that starts very early on was driving me nuts.
It gave me a headache.
And I'm specifically sensitive to those particular high pitched sounds, so I had to literally sit there and cover my ears.
Oh my good,
it was too much.
Oh my gosh, that was not a great choice, that's for sure.
I can see how it can tie into unease and uncertainty.
Yeah, and I mean other movies do it too, but there's a way to like tone down maybe the
It
frequency or
seemed
something.
really
Right.
extensive, so I don't
And,
know. Maybe
and
they'll patch it
right.
in the future.
Could be. I mean, yeah, that was I don't know. I haven't necessarily heard of that happening, but I mean, anything's possible. Certainly, if enough people are like, "Oh, this really didn't work." But what do we think about the
Yeah, as far
episode
as the
overall?
actual episode was very interesting for me. I'm a little bit disappointed if this is Ortegas's episode, but I think there's going to be more for her. I do think that we still got to see some of who she is without her memories, because the episode deals with who is everybody without their memory. What are you at your core? And we see like Pike's protectiveness of his crew come out to the point of him like being violent, which is not what I would think of him. But when he doesn't know who he is, he sees that. They're talking about memories being, or the stuff that sticks is the stuff that's tied to emotion. And Spock is still very, very Vulcan, very repressed, and I think that's because it's a practiced thing. You know, they're talking about things that are practiced, things that you've rehearsed. So, like, yeah, Ortegas can still fly the ship. You know, she is Erica Ortegas, and she flies the ship.
You're right.
But like, when her memories are removed, is she scared? Is she vulnerable? You know, some of this is coming from the planet, but how much of that is her trying to cover up with some bravado and witty comments? You know, she wants to do more. She wants to expand past just being the pilot. But it is what she's good at. And this reiterates that.
Right. It's almost as if she's somehow fighting for character development. I want to be more than just, you know, this show's Sulu, which, you know, it's funny in TOS, very famously, the only starring characters in TOS were Kirk, Spock, and McCoy.
Yeah.
Those three actors. Everybody else was a guest starring at the end, because back in those days, they didn't have starring credits at the end. There was always, they would just flash through in the credits, and, you know, Kirk's, it would be Scotty, Sulu, you know, Chekhov, Uhura, in the episodes that they were in. Even though a lot of those characters did get featured, you know, Scotty had episodes where now we're going to throw Scotty into trouble. And I was just thinking of The Wolf in the Fold today, the one with him and Red Jack. Yeah, exactly. You know, and then Chekhov, you know, had, with the one with the space hippies, one of them was his, you know, childhood friend from Russia. Yeah, on the way to Eden. So it's like, you know, they did sneak in some character moments for the characters in the original series, but it was so few and far between. Where they're making, you know, even I noticed in the most recent season of Discovery, making much more of an effort to take each bridge character and kind of nudge them into an arc. I don't feel like as successfully as that they're doing here. I feel this feels much more organic to me, in not saying, well, I really think so and so is blah blah. Like one of the younger characters noticed when Adira will say, well, I noticed that Emily Klatz's character who flies the ship, she's really great and blah blah. It's like, well, we don't really know. Yeah, Detmer, thank you. We don't really know anything about that character, so why do I care that this other character, who in my case I'm not that fond of, thinks this other character is so great when we've not really had a lot of character development? So it's nice. I think it's nice to see him kind of making the most of it with these characters kind of in this moment. The episode overall, at least for myself, wasn't crazy about. I don't know, you know, the whole going to Rigel 7 and having it be this frozen wasteland. And again, we're taking it from, there was a great bit on the Ready Room for this episode about, you know, how they used the 3D wall to build that and the castle and everything. But if you watch The Cage, which is what we knew about, you know, Pike to start with, you know, he was having a memory of visiting, you know, Rigel 12 and fighting the Kalar and yada, yada, yada. And keep in mind, you know, that's a memory that he was experiencing. We weren't, quote unquote, watching something that was happening. So it could have been different, but I guess this image of that for me didn't really gel with what I feel like we saw in The Cage. So I don't know. I wasn't crazy about that part. I know it's probably something kind of minor, but I do like, Jen, to your point, the, you know, when it's all stripped away, what's, you know, when you kind of brush everything away, what's the Chewy Nougat Center? Ooh, Chewy Nougat Center. There's a name for the episode. Oh, but while I type that, Peter, let's have your thoughts.
I had mixed feelings about this episode. Like when it first started, I was like, oh, look, Ortegas gets to do something random. And then she didn't. I was like, oh.
Oh,
Dang it. So, because like I enjoy Ortegas, I want to see her do more. So I was a little let down by that. I didn't really like some of the underlying philosophical standpoints here.
yes, par for the course for you, because I know that's your jam.
I know, that's my thing.
Yeah.
Mainly like the stuff like the character was great, but the old guy whose name is escaping me.
Luke.
Yeah, Luke.
Yeah, Luke, and he was a character actor who I'm like, I know who that guy is, and I went check. I went to his IMDb immediately. Hey, it's that guy, like on Sequest.
Yeah.
So, but like the idea of like your emotion is your truth, I don't like that because there's more to truth than just simply how I feel.
I agree.
And so it was just like, and then they were juxtaposing like that with Spock's like, emotions are not facts. It was like, yes, Spock. And then it seemed to be like they were trying to like smash those together and try to pit them against each other. It's like but it was very clumsy because the two characters who were espousing both viewpoints never met.
Yeah.
And so those viewpoints didn't actually come into direct conflict.
No, because you separated the story.
Yeah, because the facts thing was up on the ship and the emotions thing was down on the planet. And it was just a very weird, like, they had this idea, like someone did like Philosophy 101. It was like, hey, this is a cool thing, and threw it in there. And I was like, it didn't work.
Nah.
So like, but like, I get the idea. It's an interesting concept. It was just executed very badly. That doesn't mean the episode's trash. It just means that thought wasn't written.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that contrast until you brought it up just now either. Yeah. So I don't think it can't really have been that effective.
No, and that's the thing. So I don't know if they were trying to make some sort of commentary because, that's some stuff that's been flying around. But it was just, if that was the intent, it was very clumsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I felt was lag. I did feel the episode was kind of clumsy.
Yeah, it was kind of lacking in like, what's your point, I guess, is kind of where I was at with like, with this episode. Because it was like, go ahead.
Are you coming at this with this, facts aren't feelings kind of thing, or feelings don't care about your facts, or vice versa? I don't know. But
because that seemed to be the juxtaposition that they're trying to put up, and it just didn't.
Yeah,
it didn't really work. And then like having people berate Spock a little bit was like, okay, like, stop.
The thing is, it's all valid. They're both valid. Everything's valid. The emotions that you carry with you are valid. And I think that Luke on the planet is talking about he doesn't want to remember.
Right.
Pain. And I understand someone, who's gone through a trauma just saying, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. I would rather forget.
No.
But at the same time, I mean, I have ADHD. I forget stuff all the time. So I'm coming into this going, this is awful. Like, this is like what I have, but like worse, like turned up to 11. I can't just to have to remember, memento these notes to yourself to start every day. Like they had to tattoo that on their arms. Like, oh, this is my name. And, oh, I have a family. Okay. That's it almost hits a little too hard for me with that.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fair.
I mean, still love Strange New Worlds. I'd still think that it's my favorite of the shows, but this episode just wasn't really it for me.
Even in a season of just 10 episodes, there's going to be a duffer. You know what I mean? They can't all be, Abbey Road, so to speak, as far as, having the great, they can't all be Billy Joel's The Stranger. You know what I mean? They can't all just be absolutely perfect. So that is fair. I'm current through the next 2 episodes. Super excited to talk about those when we come back. And then, we'll have our extended break. And those are the episodes I haven't seen yet. So we're going to try to we're going to have kind of a supersized episode when we get back from Vegas, because we're going to have to talk about 4 episodes. So, but again, this was great. I love the fact that we have a bigger team between now here on the show. We've got Jen and Peter. We also have Kay and Missy, and everybody has crazy schedules. And, I am, you guys are very patient with me in the group chat that we have, me trying to juggle all the balls, and somebody's sick, somebody's out of town, somebody this, somebody that. So I'm very grateful to have both of you on. So thanks for this. Peter and I are gonna go on and talk about Enterprise. But Jen, thank you for joining. As always, look forward to having you back. Where do people find you out there?
People can find me at linktree.com/JenWatsonArt. You will find all of my Etsy goodies, my t-shirt designs, my Instagram. Everything that I do is up there. Lots of projects. And be the Starfleet you want to see in the world.
I love it. Good stuff. All right. Well, we're going to take a pause, and then we will be back with Peter and myself. So see you in a moment. Returning. We're back, just Peter and myself, and we are going to continue talking about Enterprise. Now, Peter, you were not with us last time when we started the season, but we are in season 3, the 2003 and 2004 Xindi arc. It was the first season in any Star Trek that took on a single story format, which is, of course, what we get now. That's kind of the standard fare. But Peter, so you at this time you were a young man when this came out. Did you watch this when it first?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but when Enterprise first came out, I was an anti-Enterprise dude.
Ooh, not my Star Trek.
Not to that level. It was more of the, as anyone who has listened to me say anything knows, I am a canonista. I love continuity.
Yes.
And so when I first saw it, I was like, I listed all of my issues with it, like, transporters aren't invented yet, phasers don't exist yet, the ship should look more like a rocket. Like, I had lots of reasons, which are still reasonable. However, when I did finally start watching the show in 2012, I believe.
Oh my! So just about 10 years ago, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that was the first time I started watching Enterprise, and I was hooked. And after the first couple episodes, and pretty much all of my canon issues were assuaged.
Right.
And let me just tell anyone who's an Enterprise doubter, if I can be convinced.
Right. Yeah. Give it a shot. I mean, it's for a series in general, it was the franchise killer because it
had issues with like time, and then Nemesis was so lackluster,
right?
And there was franchise fatigue from there was everything.
Just a lot of the same oldness. I've said we got to a lot of the same, and Space Anomaly does this, and even though they didn't have the holodeck, they had something that was like it. That was a da. So, but anyway, to talk about this season, they jumped in and started doing something different, and this block of episodes, for the most part, I'm very fond of. So anyway, I'll kick us off with episode 7, The Shipment. David Straighton is the director. Writers are Chris Black and Brent V. Friedman. Now, those are not two names I'm familiar with, so maybe not writers' room. October of 2003, Captain Archer learns chemosite, a key element in the new weapon being built to destroy Earth. And seeks to follow the supply of the super weapons. So this is the first episode that we get a dialed-in view of the Xindi primates, the somewhat chimpanzee. Would you say they're kind of chimp-like?
This is the first time we see the arboreals.
Arboreals, okay.
Or the sloth type.
Yeah, the primates are us. Yes, the sloth type. And I'm trying to remember: is the guy who's the foreman of the mining camp? Is he the same guy that we keep seeing throughout because I hate to say they all look alike, but
the makeup does kind of make them all look the same. But no, this guy appears. I think he may show up one other time. I don't remember, but he's part of it is he's a decent sized name at this point. I can't remember his name at the moment. He's a decent striker in X2. I can't remember everyone's name.
That was Brian Cox.
Yep.
Are you serious? Oh my God! Yeah, let me open.
I mean, you can double check, but from what I remember, that's who it is.
Oh my God! You absolutely have to be kidding me. Okay, I'm looking at. Because this jumped me over to. Let's see here. No. Sam Witwer was sloth number 3. No clue.
Nice.
Holy crap.
Never would have guessed.
I didn't even know that he had a Star Trek role of any kind. Holy crap.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, no, Graylick was the main actor. No, it was John Coltrane Jr., who previously played on TNG.
He just sounds familiar.
Yeah, John Coltrane Jr., let's see, in the episode... It's the episode where they're chasing around the Romulans and the Cardassians and the Klingons all get involved in it. Yeah, the chase. Thank you. He's the Klingon, the one who challenges Data to the headbutting.
Yeah,
same dude.
For whatever reason, he just reminded me of that.
He definitely gave you a Brian Cox vibe.
Guess not. Anyway,
I'm so excited that we looked that up because now I know something about Sam Witwer.
I had no idea Sam Witwer was in
Well,
that.
he was number 3, and there's another actor. I'm not going to spoil it, but when we get to another episode in this cluster, there's another actor who practically started his acting career with Star Trek behind very heavy makeup, and now he is a massive name. I'm not going to spoil it for you if you don't know it. Don't say it if you do know it. We'll surprise listeners. But I found this episode to be extraordinarily forgettable. I don't know about you, especially within this block of episodes where there were some really super rock solid segments. This one was kind of just like, meh.
Oh yeah, I mean this one is like it's not like super like interesting, I suppose, but it's very important.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so it's a signpost, especially in this we're in the first half of the season. It's a signpost to figuring out where do we need to go next.
Well, also for this one, this is an exceptionally important one because it shows Archer that the Xindi are not all evil, and this is one of the first times we see that where it's like these guys are just like we're just doing science. Yeah, we don't know where any of this stuff's going, and Archer's like, did you know that you blew up Earth? It's like no.
Yeah.
One thing that I really like about this episode is it's something that they build on throughout the season, and it's what allows for a lot of the payoff at the end. But you get this whole thing of the Xindi are all bad, and eventually we find out like why and what's going on. But like this is that first hint, and you have like an honorable, decent dude who ends up helping them in the end. Right, first by point of phase pistol, but then. Right, by his own.
Yes, a gentle prodding, exactly. Yeah. So, you know what? You make a good point. But again, I mean, we couldn't even pick out who the actor was, who's the guest star. That's how it just felt kind of forgettable to me. And absolutely stunned that Sam Witwer was, he was literally listed as sloth number 3. That's kind of like, the line, there was a line in an episode of The Simpsons, is auditioning for a play. This guy comes up with his headshot and he says, I played panicky idiot number 3 in the Poseidon Adventure. And the lady goes, we're looking for more of a duh idiot.
Just reminds me of Galaxy Quest.
Oh my God! Exactly.
Number 6 in one episode. Good job.
By Grabthar's hammer. What a savings. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's move on. I'll let you have this next one, but this is this one ended up in our bracket challenge.
In our bracket.
Yeah. And this is definitely one of my favorites, particularly of the first half of the season, but go for it. Or the first half of the series. So
all right. So episode 8, Twilight, directed by none other than Robert Duncan McNeil. Written by
Robbie McDunk.
Written by Mike Sussman, aired November 5th, 2003. A parasite causes Captain Archer to lose his short-term memory, and he, with the help of T'Pol and Dr. Phlox, seeks a way to change the past.
Oh, man.
This is a great episode.
So great. This is, and again, this is when Battlestar Galactica, the Ron Moore version, one of my absolute favorite programs of all time, was just getting started. This was, this was prior to that miniseries airing. So this was prescient to that series. But in a lot of ways, I mean, that series aped the classic series of the, our civilization is wiped out and there's a caravan of the Last of Us that are going off to survive. And this did that. And I think I think it did it in a way that was absolutely awesome. And they did a cool job starting it off. Archer wakes up in the middle of the night, to the ship rocking, and he walks out of his quarters, and there's a security non-com standing there, and sir, I can't let you out. And he's like, what the hell's going on? And Archer knocks the guy down, still shirtless. So it's Scott Bakula, so got to be no shirt. I'm so sorry Missy's not here to poke fun at the shirtlessness. But he goes to the bridge, and arriving at the bridge, he gets there just in time for them to emerge from a vortex and see the Xindi weapon destroy Earth, and that's our cold open. Yep. And then great transition post credits. He wakes up as a man 12 years in the future, being who knows where, wanders out into Paul's making him breakfast, and he's like, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything at all except for what we find in Act 2, where he's starting to go through the events that got this role. And he and T'Pol were walking down a corridor, and they get hit by a wave of whatever, and he gets this parasite, and then you find out that over the next year he becomes so useless that he's got to stay in his quarters and watch TV or whatever, because because without his leadership the whole mission falls apart, and the Xindi destroy Earth, and then they wipe out all of humanity, to the point that there's 12 years later there's 6,000 humans left,
and the Xindi are still hunting them.
Which is how this ends up wrapping up. But great sci-fi stuff. Phlox comes back into the picture with a big mullet, because apparently, I don't know, maybe that's a thing, older Nobulans got to just let their hair grow, but their hair grows.
Has a lovely hairstystyle that we only see in this episode.
Exactly, yeah. Well, no, she has longer hair in the Mirror Universe episode.
Not nearly as long.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
And not nearly as well kempt.
Or ornate, yes, exactly. It's a very sci-fi premise. By zapping the parasites in the present, they are eliminated backwards through time, which means this alternate history is erased. But they do it in, the very tropish, in the last act, there's a big shootout in engineering, and T'Pol gets shot, and then Archer's at the controls and he gets shot like 3 times, but with his last breath, he pulls down the last lever. And then you pull out to see the ship exploding, much like with The Year of Hell, Voyager, the second segment, where, they crash Voyager into the Krenim ship and there's a big explosion. And then you go back to the opening shot from the first episode, because nothing ever happened. One of my absolute favorite episodes.
Great episode.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So cool. But we segue right into another one of my favorite episodes.
This is also a good one.
Yeah, I grew up in middle school in particular, loving everything about the Old West, from watching, Bonanza was a series that was very big in my family. This was always a joke at Christmas in my mom's side of the family, that would have, Christmas dinner right here in this very house, because I live in the house I grew up in. The LP of the Bonanza Christmas would always get played, and all of my uncles knew the words and would sing along with it. So it just really definitely clicked. But anyway, episode 9 is North Star. David Straighten, again, is directing. David A. Goodman did the writing from November of 2003. Investigating a planet found to be inhabited by humans, the crew find a town resembling the American Old West, or as known in TNG, the Ancient West. Holy crap. Great episode. We get Glenn Morshower coming back. Glenn Morshower is a character actor who is amongst my very favorite. We got him in TNG. He played in the episode Peak Performance. He was the security officer who took over for Worf when the crew was split up for that exercise in that one. But he had a really great role as a Secret Service agent in Fox's 24, which is one of my favorite shows that I talk about absolutely all the time. But he was the sheriff in this small town. And the guy who was his ne'er-do-well deputy, he definitely had some Star Trek connections. I feel like he wasn't in the Ancient West episode of TNG, but he and that actor look like they could be cousins. But that guy, he's just kind of a slimy weasel type that you end up seeing a lot of other stuff. You know what I mean? You look confused.
I'm looking him up to see if he appeared in anything else.
Yeah. That's right. But this is great. Kudos to our people who, without a replicator, somehow fashion Old West clothing. Maybe they beam some stuff. They use targeted beaming to beam some stuff out of the general store, and that's why they have hats and boots and jackets and all this.
Unless someone's an avid role player somewhere on the ship.
Guess you think it wouldn't be a priority during the mission to save humanity, but you never know. But this was great. You got to see, Trip say, T'Pol says, "You know how to operate this animal?" Well, I've seen every John Ford Western, and he has to lend out his harmonica as collateral so they can borrow a horse.
There's a lot of funny moments in this episode.
Yeah, it's just really great. And so, the crux of it is that in the, back in Ancient West times, a interstellar race called the Skagarans abducted a chunk of, a human settlement to become their slaves. They brought them back to this planet. And after 6 months, these humans managed to revolt and kill the Skagarans and rebuild society in so much as what they knew back on Earth. And both some of the Skagarn's, society survive, but as second-class citizens. And so this is addressed. One of the characters, the female character, who was she was a very funny character in the U.S. version of Shameless, which was on Showtime with William H. Macy. She was his illegitimate daughter, and so she was the older sibling to the other kids, and they just absolutely hated her guts. So she was that's what I remember her for. But she was great. But you find out in the middle of the episode that she is of mixed race. She's Skagaran inhuman, so that ends up becoming a crux of the plot as well. There are about 6,000 of these people, so we don't end up taking any of them with us, nor do we ever hear about them again, because quite frankly, with 6,000 of them, there would be no way to get them back to Earth in a timely fashion, because Enterprise is the only Warp 5 vessel. They don't have, they could put them all on one of those cargo ships that like Mayweather grew up on, but those travel at like Warp 2. So good luck. Plus, they got bigger fish to fry. But
and also like they're fairly well functioning.
Yeah.
At the end, they're
right.
hopefully better functioning society, and so hopefully the Federation can just come back in later. And
right, and that that would be a cool episode or whatever. But I mean,
a fun touch that someone else does later. Hey, let's go back to the cowboy planet and see how
exactly. Just like we had, that could be one for Lower Decks.
Right.
Just like the gangster planet in or Landru, or the gangster planet in the piece of a piece of the action. So definitely one of my faves. So cool. All right, moving on. The next one's yours.
All right, episode 10, Similitude, directed by LeVar Burton and written by Manny Koto, the future showrunner.
Yes,
I think this is his first one, actually.
And Scribe on 24. So, yeah.
Aired on November 19th, 2003. Commander Tucker becomes comatose after an accident to his brain, and a rabbit-growing clone is created for the purpose of harvesting brain tissue.
Ouch!
Yes. This is another very well-written episode.
Agreed.
It's a Tucker-centric episode without being Tucker.
Right. Yeah, kind of, sort of, because the crux of it is that in this injury, Phlox naturally has a creature in his menagerie of weird creatures that he can take some of Trip's DNA, plug it into this spongy thing, and then in like 2 days it grows into an infant version of Trip. But it ages. It goes through its lifetime over about like 2.5 or 3 weeks or something like that. Yep. And that he ages, but he also retains some of Trip's memories. And then he develops friendships with people in the crew. He's able to help out. And then again, the B plot of this is that Enterprise is stuck in a cloud, and there's a bunch of blah 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 that's mucking up the engines. Yada yada yada.
And they really need Trip.
And they really need Trip. But the B part of the plot is so. It's so paint by numbers that I feel like I didn't even pay attention to it because it was that boring. Yeah. But the stuff with Trip, and then we see Sim, which they end up calling the clone, falls in love with T'Pol, and T'Pol ends up having feelings for him, and as we know, that continues to evolve once Trip is at the end. They did kind of a classic bit with the beginning of the series. Oh, there's a funeral in the torpedo bay, and blah blah blah. We're eulogizing somebody, and then they cut down to the casket, and it's Trip. He's wearing the uniform you're wearing, but he's not. It's the uniform. He's not wearing pips. He doesn't have a patch. So it's like, the crafty viewer can pick out that something's not really quite right. Then the bookended scene at the end of the episode is that it's the same thing, but then as you swirl around, you see Trip. Yeah, he's pan up, and then Trip is standing there. So obviously everything worked out just fine. But spot on episode. I really liked what they did. It was
interesting. Interesting look at organ donation and like growing.
It was like Tuvix. Yeah, it was which is, if you pay attention to any of the Star Trek shit posting groups like on Facebook, the Tuvix memes will never end. I mean, and that episode was from 25 years ago.
The one place Tuvix doesn't die.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh. No, but this was a good one. I think, again, they took a very sci-fi-ish kind of thing and made it not about sci-fi, because they really made it about our
Top
blossoming
character,
characters, which I really like. So, okay, this next one is a particular favorite of mine because in 2003, I was living in Metro Detroit, which is my hometown. I live now in Grand Rapids, as I grew up here as well. But this just absolutely cracked me up because this episode number 11 is called Carpenter Street, directed by Mike Vahar. This is a Berman and Braga joint, which makes it even more like. From November of 03, with the help of temporal agent Daniels, Captain Archer and T'Pol go back to 2004 Detroit to stop a group of Xindi reptilians from developing a biological weapon. Wow, where do we get started? First of all, their representation of Michigan in general and Detroit specifically could not be more far off because it has absolutely nothing to do with what Detroit's like. I immediately, even at the time, Googled Carpenter Street. I don't think there is one.
I Googled it too when I saw it.
Yeah, exactly. And the Carpenter makes me chuckle because that's my middle name. But again, all their little, inferences to, any kind of modern life. It's like, all these people living in, particularly before a little bit more of the urban renewal that's happened in Detroit in the last decade, there just weren't a lot of people, there weren't a lot of people of, there weren't a lot of white people living in Detroit. Let me just put it to you that way back in those days. So all of the characters were white. Don't really think they'd be living down there. Whatever. I'm sorry. At me at Twitter at the C3. If you disagree, it's okay. But yeah, in 2004, and then to turn on the radio, it's like, hey, come see a monster truck rally at the Michigan Monster Track Dome, and I'm like, that's not a thing. It was just for me. It was just kind of driving me nuts.
It was definitely written by people from California who had never set foot in Michigan.
Exactly. Yeah, this was not the Beverly Hills Cop people. And none more evident than the final pull-out shot when Leland Orser is the ne'er-do-well villain of this episode. Leland Orser, who we've seen him in, he's been in absolutely everything, but he was a crazy hologram in an episode of Voyager early in season 4. Latent Image, I think was the episode. No, I don't know. Hit me up if you remember the name of the episode. But nothing is more evident than the pull-out shot of that where they pull back down Carpenter Street and there's those famous Southeast Michigan mountains that I'm so familiar with. Oh, I just even watched that. I was like, come on. You could have picked any other angle to do that shot. Shoot it in the other direction. There's not mountains in the other direction. Just set the crew up at the other end of the street. Okay, my big reveal. This was the episode I talked about a little while ago. There is an actor playing a Xindi reptilian, ladled in makeup, talking in kind of a funny voice. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I looked it up a while ago, but I don't remember.
It is, drum roll, Jeffrey Dean Morgan of The Walking Dead, Negan himself. Very nearly, if not not exactly, started his career with this episode. I didn't know that for years because, again, I had no idea who he was. I know that for fans of the show Supernatural, he was the father of the Winchester brothers, who are the stars of the show. We see him in the first episode in various flashbacks, blah, blah, blah. I didn't watch a ton of that show, but I know it was a favorite of my wife's. But yeah, he came to fame back in, I think 2012 or maybe I think it was 2015 as the live action version of Negan, who is one of the bigger villains in the Walking Dead comic book series by Robert Kirkman that became an enormously successful television franchise. And he now is co-star of his own Walking Dead spinoff called Dead City, which takes place in New York City, which is on right now. So yeah, got to start in Star Trek. I love it. But yeah, this was but again, it was a very paint by numbers plot because it was we're looking for the virus. This exact same time it was season 3 of 24, and the virus was the plot line. So I'm like, and it was in a gritty urban setting, and I'm like, you guys are just taking a photocopy of 24 and slapping it on, and I just anyway, not one of my favorites.
It's not a terrible episode, but it's not. It's not super great.
I definitely do like to laugh my way through it. So, all right, last one. Take us home. It's all yours.
All right, the last episode 12, Chosen Realm, directed by another Star Trek alum, Roxanne Dawson. Written also by Manny Coto, aired January 14th, 2004. Religious zealots seek to execute Captain Archer for supposed acts of sphere desecration after hijacking Enterprise.
Oh my. Well, Peter, it's no secret that I'm not a super religious guy, but you are.
Yeah.
So from a religious standpoint, I'm going to let you say your piece, and then I will probably say some of the more obvious things, but go for it. What were your thoughts about that religious zealot part of it?
I mean, to be perfectly frank, this episode is a little forgettable for me.
Okay. That's why you were supposed to watch it again before we do this.
Yeah, apparently I completely missed this one.
Oh boy. Okay.
But that's okay. I do remember it, so it's not like it's that big of a deal.
All right, go for it.
But like, it's interesting, but sometimes with how sometimes Star Trek approaches religion. Usually it's fine, but every once in a while, and this kind of leans into that just a little bit, where you get like you're only dealing with the extremists.
Right, very true. Yeah, because you don't really learn anything else about this society.
Yeah, you just know that these guys are like,
the worst of the worst, craziest
mixed match of like the early 2000s idea of a jihadist mixed with a crusader. It's very weird.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I mean, there's this idea where it's like you don't know our beliefs, and so you have to pay for it, which is, again, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Very, I think the term is Islamophobic at that point.
Post 9/11, absolutely. Yeah.
So like you have to take that into what's going on here. We don't have like the, with the Bajorans where you have some of that religious fanaticism, but it's not seen as negatively.
Right.
So yeah, this one was just a strange episode. Like, it's well directed and it's well acted.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you have people, and again, you're right. Looking back to religious fanatics, the IRA, for example, or the Taliban, you have people who are human bombs because they can do, they can stick this key into their arm and turn it a certain way and make themselves explode, which is they do, and that's the one they get at the end because there's the inevitable our people escape at the end and they're having a big firefight, and the one guy standing on top of the warp core and he's about ready to key blow himself up, and then he gets shot at the last minute.
Yeah. And then the thing at the end where you have it's a little too on the nose.
Yeah,
where you end the episode, you're like, your entire planet's been destroyed while you've been gone. Like,
exactly, it was very much let it be your last battlefield with the Frank Gorshin and the black on the left side or white on the left side.
Anyone remembers when I talked about that episode? I didn't like that either because it was too on the nose.
It's just way too much. So. I do have another. We had two in a row. An actor who became somebody very famous, but not for acting. The role of Jareb was played by, and it's misspelled here on Wikipedia, by Taylor Sheridan, who has gone on to create the Yellowstone universe, which is quite a dynasty of programs. Did actually just get news this week, totally Star Wars and related, that or Star Trek related. Oh my God, I do too many of these shows, Peter. That Kevin Costner has officially left Yellowstone, and they're worrying about the whole thing falling apart. But Yellowstone itself has produced two great spinoffs, and people are, it's catnip for old people. Like my dad really loves it, but April and I are crazy for it. But this dude, he's super talented. He's actually written and directed some films that are about very similar subject matter. Yellowstone, in a nutshell, it's about a generations long ranching family in Montana they're in a constant struggle to keep their land because everybody wants it. So it's kind of it's modern day spin. It's pretty gritty. It's pretty violent. It's pretty edgy. But yeah, this is where he got his start. He was a young guy and got to start on Enterprise, just like Sam Witwer. I don't know. That's where he got to start, and just like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So this was very groundbreaking for talent that went into into the 2010s.
Classic Star Trek. Let's take these people and give them something to do, and then we'll see them later when they're famous. Yeah,
total six degrees of Star Trek, which I had suggested to our group. Oh, hey, let's play this game, but be a very short game. Because first of all, you can go to Memory Alpha, and it's all right there. Like, so-and-so starred in this movie with all these other Star Trek people. So, but right off the cuff, it could be a tough one. So, all right, well, this wraps up this 6th episode. So let's pick a favorite, and let's pick a least favorite. You go first.
Oof. See, the problem is we have two like really good ones.
I know. How do you pick?
I am going to go with Twilight.
Same. Yes, absolutely.
I just really liked that one. If I had to pick something different, it would probably be North Star, just because it's so.
Yeah.
It just tickles my funny bone of Star Trek going back to the Old West. I enjoy when they do that.
Right, big time.
But in terms of least favorite,
and it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it probably would be Carpenter Street, honestly.
Yeah, I'm struggling between that and
Chosen Realm.
Yeah,
I mean, I liked both of them for different reasons, but there's also problems that I have with both.
Right.
So.
Very true. Yeah, for me, again, it's liking bits and pieces of really 5 of the 6 of these, but the shipment, I mean, even I was like, even though, it did. But again, even there's something to like in that one because it provides key, fuel for the fuel tank that drives the plot forward. So, I do get that. So, but anyway, a real, otherwise really solid grouping of episodes. So I'm pretty happy about it. So, well, cool. Well, that's it. Peter, thank you as always. Where do people find you out there?
You can find me around the internet at Petrus Aquinas in various locations. You can also find me playing a Vulcan chief engineer on ELH's Twitch or YouTube channel. That's pretty much it. If you at me, I might not say anything, but I'm there.
He's there. Oh, my goodness. Well, as always, you can find me over on Twitter for the time being, because we know there's a lot of turmoil with Twitter. We did get an SFU account started over on Threads, and I started an account myself, but I've not really played with it. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to do much more. I guess I'd have to have Twitter die first to really get started on something else. But anyway, over on Twitter, I'm at the C3. Just go ahead and spell it out. Of course, we do have our secret friends at Secret Friends U, so you can find us there too. My wife April and I and Peter are all part of the USS Grand Petoskey. That is one of the biggest chapters of Starfleet, the International Star Trek Fan Club. We're based here in West Michigan. We do have chapters, obviously, all around the world. I actually run Region 13 for SFI, which is Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you're a Trekker within the sound of my voice and would like to meet other Trekkers in your vicinity, drop us a line at our Grand Petoskey website or at any of our socials, and we will help connect the dots for you. We're happy to do it. So cool. With that, I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trekking.
Peace and long life.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.